Tigers are not afraid, but I was while watching the devastating but beautiful 2017 movie. Written and directed by Mexican filmmaker Isa Lopez, Tigers Are Not Afraid is like City of God by way of Guillermo del Toro, and is every bit as exciting and haunting as that sounds. The 2010s were overflowing with media relating to Mexican cartels and the drug wars down south. That's not so surprising, what with the constant flow of bad news being reported on the subject. It is a daily tragedy, equal parts upsetting and terrifying. It is also unsurprising that most of these films and shows focus on either a police thriller angle, an internal rise and fall tale, or brain-dead revenge flicks that give Mel Gibson a socially acceptable reason to shoot foreigners.
Oh no!
Tigers Are Not Afraid stands out from the crowd. There is still a hefty dose of crime and social realism at play here, but the story is thematically centered around fairy tales. Don't worry, it's not as blunt as Sleeping Beauty getting human trafficked while enjoying a slumber. It is weaved in much more naturally. As I hinted at in the intro, it generates some major Pan's Labyrinth vibes, which is never a bad thing. A young girl named Estrella is happily studying fairy tales in school when a nearby shooting interrupts the class. The teacher comforts her during this crisis, handing the girl 3 pieces of chalk, stating they will grant her 3 wishes. The incident, no doubt one of many, leads to the school being closed for the foreseeable future. Estrella heads home, but discovers her mother is nowhere to be found. In this city, you have to assume the worst. The locals are endlessly terrorized by a ruthless gang, known as the Huascas. Estrella joins a small band of other children, whose lives have been torn apart by this gang, forced to fend for themselves on the streets. Shine, the leader of this crew, steals a mobile phone from a major member of the local gang, triggering a violent series of events. The horror side of things ignites when Estrella uses the first of her wishes, wishing her mother would return. The good news? Her mother does return. The bad news is that she returns in ghost form. Continued visions of this city's ghosts haunt the girl, chasing her for some mysterious purpose, while the group of kids are also being hunted by the Huascas. Maybe it goes without saying, but Tigers Are Not Afraid can be a tough watch. The film opens with some very sobering stats. A decade of cartel wars led to 160,000 murders and 53,000 missing person cases, with entire areas transformed into ghost towns. Shockingly, there are no numbers reflecting the children of the dead and missing that are left behind. These numbers, and lack thereof in the latter case, hang heavy over every scene of the movie. The reality of the data is brought to life and hammered home relentlessly as you grow to really root for these poor children, born into impossible circumstances, trapped in seemingly inescapable cycles of violence and misery. Rare moments of childhood joy and innocence only make the film more heartbreaking. This is especially so in scenes involving Shine, who has seen too much to ever experience that playfulness ever again. Each of these kids deserve better, and you know full well that the situation is only going to worsen. In cinematic terms, it is thrilling, as the stakes and the tension of these children battling insurmountable odds are so naturally effective. In reality, the background behind the real stories makes it incredibly uncomfortable. The child actors really sell it. All were new to this, and only received minimal coaching prior to filming. They were never shown a full script, and shot the film in chronological order, attempting to receive the most authentic responses from them in each moment. It worked. I'm not scared to admit a few scenes almost had me reaching for the tissue box. The ghostly encounters may be too sparse in number for some horror fans, but personally, I think Isa Lopez handled these aspects wisely and tastefully. The horror and the magical realism are supporting acts, enriching the protagonist's journey, but never overshadowing the daily struggles of these lives. Tigers Are Not Afraid comes highly recommended.